Have you ever found yourself listening not to a man's words, but to the silence between them? That barely perceptible pause tender, more revealing than any confession. He says, I love you. But something within you, an ancient feminine intuition, quietly urges, wait, don't trust the words, look deeper. And so you linger in that in-between space, between what he says and what you suspect, searching for truth in his gaze, in the tremor of his voice. This suffering, this uncertainty, is not illusion. It is not fear or distrust. It is your soul's call for authenticity. You are tired of beautiful words, of polished masks, of rehearsed declarations. Your soul craves truth. And as Jung taught us, truth rarely lives on the surface. It does not reside in conscious confession. The truth hides in the shadow, in the unconscious. And the unconscious speaks a different language, not the language of words, which can be shaped, filtered, rehearsed. It speaks through the body. More precisely, through the hands. A man's hands are the seismograph of his soul. They are the extension of his true, unfiltered impulses. While the mind plays a role performing as a loving partner, the attentive man, his hands betray what lies deeper. They cannot lie. They do not pretend. They do not show what he wants you to see, but who he truly is when he's no longer observing himself. I would say the hands are the instruments through which the unconscious writes its story on the canvas of reality. They create and destroy, caress and repel, protect and threaten. And if you learn to watch their silent dance, you can read what words will never tell you. You can see whether he's offering you his whole self or just a curated part designed to achieve something. So stop asking whether he loves you. Stop searching for answers in words that are too easily spoken. Instead, learn to read, learn to see. Let me show you how a single gesture, a single unconscious movement of his hand can reveal more about his heart than 1,000 declarations. This is not palm reading. This is depth psychology, the key Jung left us. Prepare yourself. We are about to enter a world of silent truths, and what you discover there may change everything. The first truth, given hands. Do not focus on what he gives you, but how he gives it. He hands you a cup of coffee, a phone, a book. What do his hands do in that moment? This fleeting, everyday gesture holds the entire map of his inner world. There are men who place the object before you with a subtle distance, no touch, no warmth. This is your coffee, this is your phone. There is no aggression, but also no connection. Jung might interpret this as an expression of an unintegrated animus, the logical masculine principle. In that moment, you are not a woman, a person, a soul. You are an object, a task, a duty. His hands say, there is space between us. I am fulfilling a role. This is neither good nor bad. It simply is. It is the language of functional, not heartfelt relationships. Now, imagine a different picture. He hands you the same cup of coffee, but his hands move differently. He doesn't simply place it before you. He offers it to you. Perhaps his gaze is elsewhere, distracted, but his hand performs a quiet ritual. His fingers brush against yours. He doesn't just let go, he hands it over. In that moment, his unconscious speaks more clearly than any words. This is not just an act of giving, it is a symbolic act. His animus, his logic, his action is in harmony with his anima, his inner feminine, the part of him capable of connection and feeling. This gesture is not politeness. Politeness belongs to the persona, the social mask. This gesture is energy. It is contact. It is the silent desire to bridge two worlds. Let your eyes become attuned to this language, because in these unnoticed moments, truth breathes. And once you learn to see it, you will never again settle for words alone. It is an expression of his true feelings, those that slip past the filters of consciousness. He might be angry. You might be in the middle of an argument. But if his hand, in that moment, still unconsciously reaches for yours, it means something deeper. The connection is more important to him than the conflict. His soul is reaching out to you, even if his ego resists. Observe him in everyday moments when he pays for you at a restaurant, for example. He hands the money to the cashier, but where does his energy go? If he does it calmly, with quiet dignity, that's one thing. But if, afterward, his hand gently finds yours, rests briefly on your fingers, or touches your arm, that is something entirely different. That is a message silent, but unmistakable. What I do for you, for us. I want to share this moment with you. Conversely, if his hands are tense, hurried, or rough in their movements, if they avoid contact with you as if afraid of being burned, that too is a message. A message about his inner tension, his fear of closeness, his reluctance to let you all the way in. His hands say, I give, but I do not give myself. I am here, but not with you. So next time he hands you something, forget the object. Look at his hands. Are they open or closed? Do they seek contact or avoid it? Are they soft or rigid? In that fleeting moment lies more truth than hours of conversation. It is not a gesture. It is a confession. A confession of his unconscious one you are now learning to read. The second truth, resting hands. The most honest moments are the silent ones. When conversation fades, when no one has to perform, when the roles drop away and he is alone with his thoughts, even if sitting right beside you, what do his hands reveal? Imagine you are in a car together. He is driving, eyes on the road. You are quiet. Watch his free hand. Does it rest idly on the gear shift? Does it fidget with the wheel? Or without word, does it find your hand resting on your thigh? He doesn't look at you. He doesn't expect a reaction. This is not calculated affection. This is his unconscious speaking. His hand seeks a place and finds it with you, like a loyal animal returning to the warmth of its home. Jung would describe this as a sign of an integrated self, a connection that comes not from the surface, but from the depths of personality. If his hand unconsciously finds yours, it means that in the inner landscape of his being, you are his safe place. You are home. This is not passion, not flirtation, not performance. It is something quieter and more profound, a need for grounding, for confirmation. You are here with me, and because you are, the world is bearable, a silent gesture of trust, of acceptance. And then there is the other side, the moments of calm in which his hands cannot find rest. He scrolls endlessly through his phone, taps the table, clenches his fists, hides his hands in his pockets. What are his hands telling you then? Hands that cannot rest reflect a soul that cannot rest. Jung would say, this is the shadow speaking. Suppressed emotions seeking release. Constant phone use isn't just habit. It is a form of escape. Escape from silence, from stillness, from the intimacy that silence often invites. His hands are building a wall. The phone is not a device. It is a shield. Hands hidden in pockets, classic concealment. He hides his hands because he is hiding something else. His vulnerability, his uncertainty, his truth. This does not mean he is lying, but it means he is not yet ready to be fully seen. There is a part of him he cannot or will not offer. Watch him during small, quiet moments when you're watching a film together, for instance. Are his hands relaxed, open, gently touching yours? Or are they crossed? Tight, contained? Crossed arms and rigid hands speak of self-control, of a man unconsciously restraining himself. Perhaps restraining tenderness? The kind he doesn't know how to express or doesn't yet dare to show. Or perhaps he is suppressing irritation or anger. Either way, it speaks of inner conflict. His soul is not at rest. True intimacy reveals itself in relaxation. When his hand rests quietly beside yours, not deliberately seeking contact, but also not avoiding it. When his touch comes by accident, and it feels as natural as breathing. This is the state in which the outer persona falls asleep, and only the true feeling remains. A hand that finds you in silence is the hand of a man for whom you are not a passing moment, not an affair, nor a temporary stop. You are his peace, and that is worth more than any promise. The third truth, hands in conflict. This is the moment when all masks fall away and the shadow steps forward. Everything a person so carefully suppresses in daily life, anger, fear, resentment, rises to the surface. And when you see his true face, distorted by emotion, do not look at the face. Look at the hands. They reveal not just anger, but what lives beneath it. You are arguing. His voice rises. His words sharpen. What do his hands do? If they clench into fists, this is the oldest, most primal signal. No, it doesn't mean he will hit you, but it does mean that his limbic brain, his animal nature, has seized control. In that moment, he's no longer an adult man. He is a frightened or enraged being, ready to defend or attack. Jung would say, the shadow has devoured his consciousness. A man who clenches his fist during conflict is not mastering his anger is mastering him. This speaks not of violence, but of emotional immaturity, of a man who has not yet learned to hold his own storms. He is not dangerous. What is dangerous is his unpredictability. Another possibility, his hands become weapons of expression. He points his finger, slashes the air with his palm, stabs the space between you with his gestures. This is no longer a defense. This is an assault. A pointed finger is a symbolic weapon, an attempt to break through your defenses, to humiliate, to control. His hands scream, "You are wrong. You must surrender." This is not the language of partnership. It is the posture of an accuser. A man who argues to win does not seek truth. He seeks power. For him, a relationship is not a place of connection. It is a battleground. Now imagine something far more rare. You are arguing. Both of you are hurt, disappointed, maybe even furious. And yet his hands remain open. His palms are turned toward you or gently upward. This is an extraordinary gesture. To keep one's hands open in a moment of danger is to reveal the deepest kind of trust and vulnerability. His unconscious is saying, I am angry, but I am not closed. I am not armed. I am still here with you. Jung would interpret this as a sign of an integrated shadow. This man has met his darkness. He does not fear it, and so it does not consume him. He can be angry and still stay present, still stay connected, because he knows if he destroys you in this moment, he destroys something within himself. And sometimes, just sometimes, in the middle of the storm, he may reach for you, not to silence or restrain you, but to end the war. A desperate gesture, and also a hopeful one. His hand, without words, says, please, let's stop. What we have is more important than this fight. A man capable of that gesture possesses great inner strength. He places love above pride, the relationship above the ego. So watch his hands during an argument. They are the ultimate test of his soul. Clenched fists reveal fear. Aggressive gestures expose a hunger for control. But open palms speak of vulnerability, of inner mastery, and of a love that does not fear even the darkest storms. The fourth truth, protective hands. How does a man behave toward you in public, not in private, where anyone can play a role, but in the presence of others, where instinct rules? This is where his deeply rooted masculine archetype reveals itself. And again, look at his hands. You are walking through a crowd together. Does he walk ahead, clearing a path for you? Does he stride beside you, absorbed in his own world, leaving you to navigate alone? Or does he do something else? Does he place his hand lightly on your lower back, nod your hips, nod your body in a possessive way, specifically your lower back? This is more than a gesture. It is one of the oldest symbols of protection. Jung would say, in this moment, the archetype of the guardian is awakening within him. The lower back is one of the most vulnerable, instinctively protected zones of the human body. When a man places his hand there without dominance, without display, he's unconsciously saying, I am here. I've got you. It is not a performance. It is a silent, ancient reflex. To shield, to guide, to guard. Not to show the world you belong to him, but to show you that he belongs to you in the most sacred, protective sense. Have your back. You are safe with me. This gesture carries no sexual connotation. It does not shout, she's mine, like a possessive hand on the buttocks. It does not say, I control you, like a heavy grip on the shoulder. It whispers, I am your shield. It is the expression of a healthy, integrated animus. He does not use his masculine strengths to dominate, but to serve, to create a quiet cocoon of safety around you. A man who touches you in this way does not see you as an object. He sees you as something of great value, something to be protected, not owned. Another scene. You are sitting in a group and someone says something unpleasant to you. What do his hands do? Do they remain still, detached, or do they find yours under the table, gently squeezing in silent solidarity? That touch is a message. I'm here. I heard it. I stand beside you. He doesn't need to intervene aloud. Sometimes this silent gesture of support is far more powerful than words. It shows that your emotional well-being is a priority to him. It creates an invisible alliance. You and him, side by side, a quiet front against the world. Now, the opposite. A man who withdraws from you in a crowd, or worse, a man who grabs you roughly. His hand grips your hip too tightly, pulls you close like a prize on display. This is not protection. Jung would interpret this as a manifestation of the shadow, more precisely, of deep insecurity. Such a man is not guarding you. He is guarding his ego. He is using you to validate himself in the eyes of other men. His hand is not a shield. It is a seal. It does not say, you are safe. It says, you belong to me. True protection is quiet. It is subtle, unobtrusive. It is a gentle touch that clears an obstacle from your path. A palm that opens a door for you without fanfare. The small, unconscious movements that say everything. My world is arranged so that you can feel safe inside it. A hand that protects without possessing is the hand of a man who truly sees your worth. Not your appearance, not your usefulness, but your essence. The fifth truth, hands that listen. We often think listening happens with the ears. But in truth, the entire body listens, and the hands speak volumes. They can betray boredom or impatience. Even when a man is nodding and smiling as you speak, look at his hands. What are they doing? Do they rest calmly on the table? Does one hand support his chin as he leans in toward you? This is a posture of presence, of genuine attention. His hands say, I'm here. I'm absorbing every word. What you say matters to me. Jung would describe this moment as a state of synchronicity, when two people are attuned not just in words, but in energy. His unconscious is engaged. He's not just hearing facts. He's listening to you, your emotions, your soul. His relaxed, open hands create a sacred space where you can speak freely, without fear of judgment or dismissal. Now imagine something else. You're speaking, but his fingers tap the table. He fiddles with his phone. He touches his ear or an object nearby. These are signals, loud ones. His body is saying what his words won't. I'm restless. I'm elsewhere. When will this be over? He's no longer with you. Even if his mind is present, his unconscious has wandered. He may still hear your voice, but he is no longer listening. Another subtle but revealing sign. While you speak, he touches himself. His shoulder, his neck, his forearm. This is self-soothing. It means your words have touched something inside him, perhaps a wound, a memory, a truth. You've stirred his shadow or awakened a discomfort he cannot name. This is not a bad sign. In fact, it may be a sign that your presence is real, that your story matters. What is important is what follows. Does he flee from the discomfort, or does he stay quiet but present? The most powerful gesture of all is simple. You share something painful. He says nothing. He simply reaches out and covers your hand with his. No advice, no solution, no interruption. Just this. I can't take your pain away, but I can be here. You're not alone. This is the highest form of listening. Empathy made flesh. His hand becomes a sanctuary. It says, I carry your pain with you. I do not fear your sorrow. I do not run from your vulnerability. He is willing to share them with you. A man whose hands show that he not only hears you, but truly listens. He does not see you as a collection of stories, but as a living soul. His hands build a bridge between two worlds, and across that bridge flows the most sincere, the deepest form of affection. Do not trust the words, yes, darling, I'm listening. Trust his hands, calm, open, attentive. The sixth truth, hands that explore. This is not about passion, not the familiar touches in bed. This is something much subtler and infinitely more intimate. It is about how his hands behave in moments of tenderness, when the goal is not to arouse you, but simply to be close to you. Think of those quiet moments, sitting side by side. He takes your hand in his. What does he do with it? Does he simply hold it? Or do his fingers begin to explore it, unconsciously, almost imperceptibly? His thumb traces the contours of your palm. He runs his fingers over each of yours, as if trying to memorize every line, every joint. This is not an erotic gesture. It is an act of deep interest, a silent, reverent fascination. In such a moment, I would say he is in touch with his anima, his inner feminine nature, that part of the psyche tied to sensitivity, to aesthetic perception, to the quiet beauty of connection. His hands are not saying, I desire you. They are saying, you move me. He looks at you as one might look at a work of art. Every line of your hand becomes, for him, a piece of the puzzle that is your soul. And even if he's watching a film or speaking of something entirely unrelated, his hands remain with you, their quiet, meditative dance revealing far more than words ever could. This is not conscious. It is not performance. It is instinct. And it tells you, you are not a book he has already read. You are an entire universe, one he continues to explore. Or consider this. He brushes a strand of hair from your face. Does he do it quickly, efficiently, as a functional act? Or do his fingers linger, just for a moment, on your cheek, your temple, as if he wants to remember the feel of your skin? That extra second, barely a breath, says everything. It is tenderness, breaking through the veil of the ordinary. Now, the opposite. Hands that always touch in the same way. The routine kiss, the standardized hug, the familiar hand on your shoulder. There's no curiosity in these gestures, no discovery. They are no longer expressions of presence. They are empty rituals. These are the hands of a man for whom you have become a habit. He is still with you, but he no longer sees you. He no longer rediscovers you. His unconscious has gone quiet. But a man who is truly in love, truly fascinated, never stops exploring. His hands, even without thinking, will keep seeking new details. A scar, a freckle, a gesture, not out of obligation, but wonder. He may run his finger along a faded line on your arm, not in pity, but in quiet reverence. He may trace your fingers, not as an idle habit, but as a way of connecting with what makes you you. Hands that explore are hands that love. They do not see just a body. They see a map of your soul, and they are willing to lose themselves in that landscape again and again. When his hands touch you this way, you understand, to him, you are not just a woman. To him, you are magic. The seventh truth, hands that create for you. This final truth may be the most powerful of all. It is not about how his hands touch you, but how they interact with the world. For you, not through words, not through your body, but through matter itself. You have a broken shelf. How does he respond? Does he say, we should call a handyman? Or does he quietly pick up the tools, his hands perhaps clumsy, perhaps untrained, nevertheless persistent, begin to work? Don't look at the outcome. Look at the process. When a man creates or repairs something for a woman, he is performing a deeply archetypal act. Jung would call this the embodiment of the creator, the craftsman, a man who brings order to chaos, who uses his strength to make your world more stable, more beautiful, more safe. What matters most is the energy in his hands. Are they restless? Do they fumble in frustration? Does he curse under his breath? Throw tools aside? Resent the task? If so, he is doing it out of duty. The shadow is speaking. Irritation, resistance, buried resentment. But if his hands move with focus, if they remain calm, even when things go wrong, then you are witnessing something else entirely. You are watching a meditation, a man's silent devotion. His hands are saying, I build a space for you. I shape this corner of the world so you can feel at home. He may never say I love you in a grand gesture, but his hands will speak in the language of action. And if you listen, truly listen, you will hear the deepest kind of love in the simplest things. A tightened screw, a fixed hinge, a table made steady, so you may sit in peace. It is his way of expressing care in the oldest male language, the language of action. In that moment, his hands speak more clearly than any word could. Your well-being matters to me. Your problem is my problem. I am willing to invest my time and energy to make your life better. This can take many forms. How he assembles your IKEA furniture, how he sets up your computer, how he makes a meal for you. Watch his hands. Do they create with love or with reluctance? Then there is the man who cooks for you. His hands move calmly, confidently chopping vegetables, stirring sauces. He is present in the act. He enjoys the process of caring. He is not simply nourishing your body. He is infusing the food with his energy. It becomes an act of quiet devotion. In contrast, there is the man who never does anything for you with his own hands, who would rather pay, delegate, or outsource. Perhaps he is afraid. Perhaps no one ever taught him how to express care through deeds. Instead of time, he offers money. Instead of presence, he offers solutions. That is not necessarily wrong, but it reveals a certain distance. He may solve the problem, but he remains untouched by it. True love, however, always seeks embodiment. It cannot remain just a feeling or a phrase. It wants to enter the physical world, and hands are its most sacred instruments. Hands that create with joy and dignity, those are the hands of a man whose love is real, not abstract, not floating promises, but grounded, tangible, present. It lives in the fixed shelf, in the assembled cabinet, in the cup of hot tea he makes for you, with his own hands. This is the most honest and powerful currency of love. Now you understand. Hands do not lie. They are a mirror revealing the most hidden corners of a man's soul. They speak of his fears, his strength, his tenderness, his shadow. They are the silent storytellers of his true self. The wisdom Jung left us is not a tool for judgment or blame. It is a compass, a way of navigating not the world of his words, but the world of his real feelings. It is not about catching him in contradiction. It is about clarity. And this clarity is not for him. It is for you. Because a woman who can see the truth no longer depends on words. She no longer needs constant reassurance. She gains a deep internal steadiness. A knowing based not on promises, but on perception. The path to wholeness, as Jung described it, is the path of integration. And that path begins with the ability to see reality without illusion. When you learn to read the language of his hands, you take a tremendous step on this path. You are no longer led. You become the seer. And then a quiet miracle happens. You no longer need to ask, does he love me? Because the answer is not in his voice. It is in his outstretched hand, his protective gesture, his tender touch. You will simply know. And this knowing, born not from words, but from a silent, unwavering truth, is the very freedom, the very wholeness that every woman seeks. You are no longer a victim of doubt. You are the keeper of truth. And that makes you not only truly strong, but deeply, irresistibly radiant. Have you ever met someone and felt drawn to them for no apparent reason? Felt a quiet pull, an inexplicable connection? It wasn't their appearance. It wasn't their charm. Not even their personality on the surface. It was something deeper. It was something deeper, a resonance that told you this meeting was no mere coincidence. Jung taught us that such encounters are not random. They are manifestations of a higher order, a dance orchestrated by the collective unconscious to guide us on the path of individuation. These predestined connections often appear at pivotal moments in our lives when we stand on the threshold of change, seeking the missing piece of our own puzzle. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, finds subtle ways to work in our favor, bringing us together with those who are meant to lead us toward wholeness. Yet this path is rarely easy. On the contrary, these connections often confront us with our own shadows, the parts of ourselves we have repressed or rejected. But it is precisely through this confrontation and their eventual integration that true growth occurs. The destined person acts as a mirror, reflecting not only our strengths but also our deepest wounds and vulnerabilities, inviting us toward healing and completeness. The depth of these connections also reveals itself through the synchronicity of events. It is not uncommon for soulmates to discover they were in the same place at the same time years earlier without meeting, or that they share identical symbols in dreams, or that their thoughts cross telepathically in moments of silence. These are not mere coincidences. They are the universe's subtle winks confirmations that their paths are intertwined on a level beyond rational understanding. Jung described this as the language of the collective unconscious, an invisible web connecting all souls, expressing itself through meaningful coincidences in tangible reality. This web of synchronicities grows denser as the relationship unfolds. It is as if the universe constantly reminds them, you are on the right path. Your connection is part of a greater plan. Sometimes they undergo the same life crises simultaneously despite being miles apart, or make important decisions together only to see external events align astonishingly as confirmation. These are signs that they are not acting alone, that a higher power weaves the threads of their fate. Yet true destiny is revealed not only in the alignment of events, but in mutual transformation. The presence of the other awakens talents and abilities one never imagined possessing. It is as if the other's vibration activates dormant programs within the psyche, unlocking potentials long hidden. For example, one may suddenly discover a passion for music, the other for poetry, and together they effortlessly create works they could never have imagined alone. Or one develops healing abilities, the other the gift of teaching, and from this emerges a natural therapeutic partnership. This awakening is not confined to creativity alone. It manifests in courage. One begins to venture into territories previously feared, not from pressure, but because the presence of the other creates a field of safety, a space in which daring new paths becomes possible. Sometimes it is not dramatic events that change us most deeply, but a silent touch, a gaze full of understanding, or the feeling of being truly seen before we even know ourselves. A destined connection is not always gentle. It shakes us and breaks down the old within, but always with the purpose of fostering inner growth. Through this connection, we do not become someone else. We become more fully who we truly are. For when someone truly sees you, they do not mold you into themselves. They free you to be authentic. In this light, hands are more than symbols of love. They are instruments of the soul. They touch, repair, protect, explore, nourish, and create. They express what the heart cannot speak and bear witness to truths the mind often cannot grasp. In a world filled with empty words, these silent, sincere gestures become the strongest proof of love. Jung did not teach us to seek perfection but wholeness. And wholeness arises when we stop listening only to what is said and begin to read what is felt, what is revealed through the hands.